The summons reached Sergeant Rena Catherine 3 minutes after the bell of the inner watch. She read it twice and did not allow her face to change. 12 years in the personal guard of Cathaire had taught her that whatever the paper said, the wall would still need standing against. She had been transferred from the Lion Gate to the personal guard of His Royal Highness Prince Enyon Sarault, the late king's younger son, newly named King Heir of Cathaire, on the death of his elder brother, Crown Prince Valar, 9 days before. Everyone had known Valar, tall, easy in his voice, a horseman, the public smile of the dynasty. He had been thrown from a strange horse on the road back from the autumn review, and had died on the 4th day. The kingdom had wept openly. The king had not wept where anyone could see him. The younger brother was not. Rena had seen him perhaps 4 times in 12 years, a pale, narrow young man of 20, with his mother's quiet eyes and a stammer so bad the palace had stopped mentioning it out of politeness. The council had named him heir on the 2nd day after Valar's death, because there was no one else. Rena had her opinions about the assignment. She did not voice them. By the 2nd bell she was standing inside the door of the prince's outer chamber, saber at her hip, carbine slung, her face arranged into the perfect blankness that 12 years at gates had given her. A door across the room opened. Prince Enyon came through it carrying a book and stopped. He had not been told. He looked at her. His mouth opened. He shut it. Sergeant, he said. Your Highness, Sergeant Rena Catherine, reassigned this morning. He nodded, the way a man nods who would rather the nodding stand in for whatever he meant to say. He went to the table by the window and set the book down. He did not turn around for a long moment, and Rena understood, with a small irritation that was 3/4 pity, that he was waiting for his breath to come back. A second door opened, and the Lord Tutor swept in Lord Hessart, a thin, precise man whose voice carried the way men's voices carry when they have never been told to lower them. He did not see Rena at all. Your Highness. The address. We have an hour. Enyon turned. I have read it. You have read it. Good. We will hear it. Lord Hessart. We will hear it, Highness. The council convenes at the 3rd bell. Enyon picked up the paper from the table. His hand shook once and then steadied. He drew breath the way Rena had been taught to draw breath, before a long shot 3 counts in, hold, 3 counts out. He began. My lords of the inner sea, council, The next word would not come. He tried it. He tried it again. The Lord Tutor watched without expression, which was a worse thing than impatience. Enyon's color went from pale to white. The paper trembled in his hand. He set it down. He turned to the window. That is enough for the morning, Lord Hessart said. We will try again at noon. Highness, the council will require at minimum the opening passage. Without it, the address cannot be made. I will draft a fallback for the Lord Chancellor to read in your stead, if it comes to that. He bowed. He left. The room was very quiet. Rena did not move. She had not been spoken to. A personal guard did not have opinions about a tutor or an heir. A personal guard kept the room. But she had seen, very clearly, the small dignified thing that had happened in the prince's shoulders when the Lord Tutor said, times the Lord Chancellor to read in your stead, times a brief tightening, the kind of tightening she had seen in young guardsmen the first time a senior sergeant told them they would not be needed at the wall after all. Prince Enyon stood at the window with his back to her. You may speak, Sergeant, he said quietly. If you have an opinion, I will not hold it against you. I do not, Highness. You do. She let one beat go by. I think the Lord Tutor is in a hurry. He almost laughed. He turned. His eyes were bright with something he did not let onto his face, and Rena saw, in that moment, the thing she would later spend a year refusing to name to anyone, that there was a man inside this young man, and that almost nobody in the palace had looked at him long enough to see it. He is, Enyon said. He has the C, Council, and the F. The word would not come. He stopped. He breathed. The funeral. Yes, Highness. Yes. He sat down. He set the paper in front of him. He did not look at her. My brother, he said carefully, would have given this address in 1 breath. He gave a speech to the field school when he was F14. They carry it in the histories. I have read it, Highness. He looked up, surprised. It is in the regimental library. We are required to know the speeches of the house. And what do you think of it? It is a fine speech. He was a fine speaker. He was not, Highness, the only kind of man who can speak well. A small, careful silence. Sergeant, he said, you are K-kind. I am not, Highness. You are. I have been a personal guard 12 years. I am not kind. I am accurate. He looked at her a long moment. Then he picked up the paper. I have to try again. Yes, Highness. Will you stand there, where you are, until I finish a sentence? Please. That is my post, Highness. He drew breath the way Lord Hessart had not taught him. 3 counts in, hold, 3 counts out. He looked at the paper. My lords, he said. He stopped. He drew breath again. He looked at her, briefly, and she did not soften her face, because she had seen that softening at the wall, and she had seen what soft faces did to men who were trying to hold a line. My lords, he said, my lords of the inner council, my brother is dead, and I stand before you. He stopped. He had finished a sentence. He stared at the paper as if it had moved. Highness, Rena said evenly, that was a sentence. He laughed once, a short sound, a small one. Yes. There are many more sentences in the speech. Yes. You will finish another. He did. It took him longer, and he stammered times brother, times twice, and times country, times 3 times, and when he finished the second sentence he set the paper down and went to the window without speaking. Rena did not move. He came back to the table and finished the 3rd and the 4th, and at the 5th the noon bell rang and Lord Hessart came in and said, briskly, that they would resume in the afternoon. That night in the guard mess, Corporal Anvell asked how the new post was. Quiet, she said. The city, he said, was saying the boy would not be crowned, that the council would name his cousin Larent at Vel as regent. Cousin Larent, Rena said evenly, was 53, drank his supper, and had spent a decade trying to marry his son to the south. He was not a king, he was a creditor. Anvell was quiet a moment, and said, times you like the boy, and Rena drank her tea and did not answer. The next morning, Lord Hessart arrived with 2 clerks and a copy of the address marked in red ink. He read each sentence aloud. He told the prince where to breathe, where to pause, and in a voice the clerks could clearly hear that if the prince could not deliver the opening third unaided by the day of the funeral, the Lord Chancellor would step in to spare the house further embarrassment. He left the prince at the table with the red-marked paper. He left. The prince sat with the paper. Rena, at the door, kept her face arranged. Highness, Sergeant, may I make a recommendation? Outside my post. He looked at her. Yes. Lord Hessart is a tutor of voices. He is teaching you the voice of a man who does not stammer. You are not that man. He was very still. I am not. No, Highness. You are a man who stammers. You will give the address as the man you are. Jeeth, they will hear it. They will hear the address. They will hear the saint stammer. They will hear both. There is no choice in that. The choice, Highness, is whether they hear an heir who is afraid of his stammer, or an heir who is not. He looked down at the red-marked paper. I am afraid of it, he said. Yes, Highness. They will know. They already know. The country has known since you were a boy. They are not waiting to find out about the stammer. They are waiting to find out about you. A small, careful pause. Sergeant Catherine, he said. What would you have me do? Read the speech, Highness, slowly, with the stammer in it, without apology. If a word will not come, wait for it. Do not try to outrun it. The council will respect the heir who does not run. And if I cannot finish, you will finish. We will practice. Every quiet hour between now and the funeral, while I am on your post. Sergeant, that is not your duty. My duty, Highness, is to the king's house. You are the king's house. He picked up the paper. He drew breath. He began. They worked through the morning. She did not coach him on cadence or phrasing. She had no training for that. What she gave him was the wall. She stood at the door, motionless, eyes forward, and when his breath failed she did not lean toward him, and did not look away, and did not soften, and after a while he began to draw his own breath from the steadiness of hers. By the 4th bell he had read the opening third twice without stopping for longer than 5 counts on any word. By the 7th he had read it end to end 3 times, the stammer in it like a stone in a stream there, audible, and the water moving past it. Lord Hessart did not come in the afternoon. He sent word that the prince was resting. The prince and the sergeant worked. For 3 days they worked. Rena took her 4 hours of sleep in the guard-room and was at her post by the 2nd bell. The prince stammered less when she was in the room, and more when Lord Hessart came in, and she pretended not to notice either thing. On the evening of the 3rd day, the king sent for her. She had never been alone in the king's study. 3 lamps, a fire, a writing table, 2 chairs drawn to the hearth. The king sat in one of them. He was 61. He had been a tall man once. He looked, now, like a man who had buried a son. Sergeant Catherine. Sire? Sit. She sat. He looked at the fire for a long minute. My son, he said, has spoken to me of you. Sire? He says, you have been patient with him. I have been at my post, sire. The king looked at her then. His eyes were the same quiet eyes as the prince's. She had not noticed before. For 9 days, he said quietly, my council has told me, in careful words, that my son cannot be king. For 9 days my lord tutor has trained him to give a speech he cannot give. You have been with him 3. He tells me that when he reads aloud now, the words come. Sire, I have done nothing. You have done something, sergeant? I would like to know what. She was quiet a moment. Sire, she said, I stand still. He hears the still. The king looked at her a long moment. Sergeant Catherine, he said, the day of the funeral, you will stand inside the chamber, at the door behind the lectern, 3 paces from my son. You will not be his guard. You will be his quiet. Do you understand? Sire? Stand still for him, sergeant. Stand very still. The funeral was on the 5th day after she had come to his post. The great chamber was full, the inner council, the lords of the houses, the field marshals, the ambassadors, the bishops, the lesser nobility, the city's guildmasters at the back. Villar's coffin was on the bier at the foot of the steps. The bishop spoke. The Lord Chancellor read the dynastic remembrance. Then Prince Enion went up the steps to the lectern. He set the paper down. He drew breath. He looked briefly over the heads of the council to the door at the back of the lectern's platform, where Sergeant Rena Catherine stood in the gray-blue tunic of the personal guard, saber at her hip, hands at her sides, eyes forward, perfectly motionless. He looked back at the paper. My lords, he said. He stammered the second word. He waited for it. He let the room hear the waiting. He did not apologize. He went on. My lords of the inner council, my brother is dead, and I sinned, stand before you. A small ripple moved across the chamber. A few of the lords had been bracing for the silence the Lord Chancellor would step into. The silence did not come. He read slowly, with the stammer in it. He stopped on times country times twice, and on times brother times 3 times, and each time he waited for the breath the sergeant had taught him and went on. He did not hurry. He did not look up to gauge the room. He read as a man reads who is doing the only thing given him to do. He spoke for 19 minutes. When he reached the closing passage, the line his brother had been famous for delivering in 1 breath, Enion did not give it in 1 breath. He gave it in 4. He stammered on the second clause. He waited. He went on. And so, my lords, we will bury 1 son of this house, and the other will stand for what the first stood for, and for what was true before either of us was born. He set the paper down. The chamber did not applaud. It did something it had not done for any speech in living memory. It stood. It stood without instruction. The inner council first, then the lords, the bishops, the ambassadors, the guild masters at the back. They stood, and they did not speak. The king stood last and did not weep, and he looked, not at his son at the lectern, but past him, to the door behind, where Sergeant Rena Catherine stood at her post in perfect stillness, eyes forward, hands at her sides, exactly as she had stood for every hour of her 12 years in the guard. She had given the prince the wall. The prince, at the lectern, looked once, briefly, over the heads of the council to the door behind him. Sergeant Rena Catherine did not look back. A personal guard did not look back from her post. But the very small thing she did, the thing only the prince saw, was that the line of her jaw, for 1 moment, eased. That winter, the inner council, by unanimous voice, confirmed Prince Enion Serault as King Heir of Cathaire without regency. Cousin Larent at Vel sent his congratulations, and was not, that year, invited to court. The Lord Tutor was retained and was not consulted on the spring address, which the new King Heir delivered, stammering end to end, without notes. Sergeant Rena Catherine remained at the personal guard. She was offered a captaincy twice and refused twice. She kept her post inside the door of the prince's outer chamber through the king's death and the prince's coronation, and the long, quiet reign that followed the reign the histories of Cathaire would later call the one that taught the country how to listen. When she was old and the King Grey now, still with the small careful stammer he had stopped fighting and had begun to use, came once a year to her quarters in the guardhouse, he never asked her what she had seen in him that nobody else had seen. He did not need to. He sat in the chair across from her, and she sat in hers, and they did not speak much, and the stillness between them was the same stillness she had stood for him at the door of the outer chamber, the morning she had come to his post, the wall that had taught a frightened boy his own voice, and a country how to listen. It was the quietest love story the throne of Cathaire had ever kept. The histories did not name it. They did not need to. The kingdom heard it every time the king spoke.